for the range program to try to contract it, which I thought was too much, 50,000. Be, honest about that. But we have to provide the secretarial. It's requires the law. But like I said, Congress passes a budget, President signs off, and that's what's appropriate.
That central office here, can you give us a TA on that? Or do we do right there to central office?
Yeah, we have by TA on it, so I didn't get really a chance to that guidance you sent me. I need to read it, but I'll send it over.
Andy, I know you talked about fire already, but.
No, I didn't talk about fire.
Oh, I just saw this here, but, and I mentioned this, I think at the last meeting and the meeting before, but just so that the tribe has our machines inspected and whatever, so we can help.
Yeah, I talked with Adam about that last week, and I know Tracy sent notice out. And not just for equipment, but for staff, because we've had this conversation since I've been here. We have to get back to our cooperative agreement, get that finalized between you folks in the region. But, being prepared ahead of time, right, before we get into fire season. And Tracy offered a date, and I think Brandon was the only one that showed up there as far as staff goes. I think he was.
We weren't aware of it.
Okay.
But as far as even like our machinery goes, I think we should set a time and make if administration can follow up with it to make sure that the people who will be assisting make time to get that done, because when Bernie Village was being threatened by fire, our hands are tied as far as the time goes.
Okay. I'll follow up with that. You can follow up with Tracy, and then we'll provide another date. And I'll make sure the council is a copy of that. Okay. So as far as overall the contract application for range, we're getting real close. And like I said, we're getting, next week is the end of the 90-day window next Monday. President Small made a comment though, and I think it's a good one, where that budget's a moving target. We're spending at it obviously all the time. So, that's just something that, whether it's through his office or the council considers to wait till October 1st, but that's your choice. We have 90 days to make a decision to approve it or not, and give the reasons why. But that'll be up to you folks if you want to extend that till then. Don't really have any highlights to report on probate. Well, besides the fact that staffing is way down in probate. Judges are down, but I think the last call, is getting to the point where there's less staff than there are judges. So, I'm hoping that they're going to be able to correct that, get more staff, because, we're still looking around for years for probate. That's just way too long. We're going to try to see if we can provide any kind of support, extra support from the agency. Maybe just briefly mentioned it to Jermaine last week about sitting in on hearings. Normally she doesn't do that because they have staff at OHA, but might need her to sit in on hearings in case there's any questions, from the family members or the judges. We do our hearings for the tribal members here and their families.
Is there any kind of prep for those families? Like, do they just come with what they have and?
Well, they get notified.
Yeah,
They get
but
notified.
is there any review or technical assistance with those things?
No, but they can contact the agency. Any questions they have, they can contact the agency, especially when they get their notices. They can contact the agency, and Jermaine will try to answer any questions they have. But, obviously, they have to wait for the hearing for a judge to make a decision. For forestry, mostly business as usual there. I guess first thing I wanted to mention, Alonzo took the DRP. And I guess if anybody's not familiar with it again, government offered this deferred resignation retirement program. And, you know, it was on the news, you remember earlier this year, this fork in the road, all it was an email, the original one, that went out across the government. And Indian Affairs, recently here in the last few weeks, it was only about a week and a half window they offered it. But Alonzo was one of our employees at the agency that took it. And that, as a retiree, you know, he was at the agency for over 30 years. He's age eligible, so this is the choice he decided to make. So, just very good manager. I learned a lot from him in the last few years at the agency. I think that he's provided a lot of dedication and good service, not only to the agency, but to his own tribe here for the forestry program. So he's certainly going to be missed, all his knowledge and experience at the agency. And just, it's a good deal for him. You know, he gets to go on that billing until the end of the year, you know, so. One thing I know that he was following up on Adam, it's in that first bullet point, it's over that St. John's logging unit, so we still need a resolution for that. So Adam, I know, is going to be, I think he was reaching out to Tribal Terror to see if we can get that resolution from the council. Versus Ballmer, Councilman Fisher, if you have a question.
Go ahead, John.
John, go ahead.
My question is, Adam going to be taking over pretty soon, or will you be working in concert with him?
Well, I plan on staying here, John.
You and I had talked previously about my landowner association. I now have 18 people on my list, and could we get the list of people that need recognition of their plots or their lands? Designation you said that nobody's getting. So I was wondering if I could get that to give to them. And I was wondering if you could tell me how the situation is going with the property in Buzzing. Remember we had talked about previously about someone taking my land without authorization, my resources, my hay. And so we came to the realization that it was $90,000 that they were taking. I was getting $524 check. So am I going to get that money back? Because you put a hold on it and it was frozen that hay. And then someone came and took it. And so I wanted a resolution on that. I want to know if I was going to get paid for that hay that was stolen. Because a lot of landowners are in the same boat. They got notification that their land was being impinged upon by this broadband thing. And they said, I was not given any notification before. They came and dug. Can I dig still? And I talked to the zoning. She said, well, they can't dig 10 feet outside of wherever they put that line. And people are saying, oh, what if I want to put a building? What if I want to do this across my land? I can't do that now. And that's the questions that I have that I need to speak with someone about. Because these landowners are not getting due process and they're not getting recognition for what they offer in this situation. Because basically, it is their land. Thank you.
Okay. On the broadband project, John, if you want to come in, we can schedule another meeting. And Adam said you wanted to have another meeting, but you can come in, we meet with Adam and I. As far as the other landowners or even an association, I mean, it's something that we tell anyone else. You know, if you want to act on someone's behalf, or if the landowners want you to act on their behalf, you know, we either need the power of attorney at the agency or something in writing, basically on to the extent that it is. But you know, it's real common where the agency, I've learned that being there, we don't have updated addresses. And I mean, I think a lot of people even locally, they move around and they don't update their address. And so they have an address on record at BTFA or with our office, and then we send out notices. A like for the broadband project that NCC sent out, and it's not an updated address, so it ends up coming back in the mail. But if they've seen the flyers, because they put up public, because that's one of the reasons we require them to do what you call a constructive notice, also a public notice. We didn't just want them to send out consent letters. We wanted a public notice so it was available for the public to be aware that there's a project going on, that it couldn't impact the landowner's property. And, you know, they're looking to get consent. But those consent letters that are gone out, you know, it's the landowner's choice if they want to give consent or not. But, you know, if you talk to any of them, I would encourage you to have them reach out to NCCC. That's the tribes, the Northern Cheyenne Communications Corporation under the tribe that's doing the project. Lake Spotted Elk, I know, is the project manager for Palmetto, the tribe's engineering firm. He's been a lead on that project. And the other comment that you mentioned, John, I would prefer not to talk about that in a public venue, but if you want to come back and meet about that, specifically to your property and trespass and the communication that went back and forth between my office and the regional office and the decisions that were made, please let me know and we can schedule a meeting and go back through it. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. But your first question, I guess I've committed here 3 years. There's been a lot of changes with the new administration. Obviously, Adam's the new deputy here, but like my job, I certainly miss Hayes, but like my job and just trying to keep working, and you know, we'll see. There's another opportunity here. I want to stay. Yeah, I mentioned that Alonzo took the DRP. Adam will be assuming his responsibilities for managing that program. We are working on a temporary promotion for Sonia also in a forester position that we're getting in place. For fire program, trying to obviously get prepared for fire season. I'll make sure Councilmember Longer, I follow up with that and Tracy on the comments you made as far as the tribe has an interest in getting their equipment inspected and staff again coming over and getting fire ready. I mentioned you stepped up, we gotta get that cooperative agreement moving again so we can get it finalized. You know, we've had some details sent out. Travis, see on there, went out on a 14-day assignment to Park, Arizona. We've been providing assistance as we can too throughout the region. Right now, I think this is the only almost fully staffed fire program in the region. So we're trying to assist the other programs or agencies or reservations that we can when there's fires. One thing I wanted to mention, not last week, but the week prior, I was at a superintendent's meeting in Billings, and there was a reorganization plan for fire that had been sent out prior, but we met with the region about, and it hasn't been finalized yet, but I just wanted to make the council aware that what's being proposed is that all of fire throughout the region be placed under the authority of the region. They will stay here at this agency, the current staff will stay here at the agency, but they won't be under the authority of the agency anymore, they'll be under the region. You know, which, that sounds crazy because, you know, the agency is under the region, but they won't work for the agency anymore, so my point, they'll work directly for the region. And so the authority and the funding will be pulled to the region. You know, we had a discussion about it. The regional fire staff came in and presented at the superintendent's meeting. I provided some feedback on the reorg chart with some of the responsibilities, especially for the current info here, Tracy, that I think, you know, there should be some proposed changes to that. But one of the things I brought up at the meeting is that, you know, I feel like, this is something the tribe should be aware of, not necessarily, I guess, consultations or meetings, but, for as a superintendent here, I feel like this is something the tribe should be aware of because it's a change. The program will still, this program will be under the region, but the staff will still be here, they'll still provide, the coverage that they normally do for this organization. But it's a change that hasn't been finalized yet, it's being proposed. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Any better question over here to Kristen Small?
Randy?
I have a question about fire. Due to the BIA staffing levels last year, our volunteer fire department responded to wildland fires. And in a lot of cases, by the time forestry would get there, we had to fire out. I know we average this in a year. Our volunteer fires are running on peanuts. We don't have that. I still put fuel in our trucks, I still pay a lot of stuff out of my pocket. I guess one of my main questions is, because this year I haven't done, we've had fires up on the hills and west side, I know my trucks go watch houses and don't stay away. My question is based on you guys' staffing levels and response times. If we're more proactive and we're there and we put the fire out, is it the same as a car, or can we build the BIA give compensation for fuel, time, and all that stuff? I know I brought it up, Catherine brought it up in, I think it was a yearly thing. Our annual report, but we were never given an answer. And I know a prompt, quick response keeps our reservation from burning down like it has in the past. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we are a lot faster at getting the fires being out of control than forestry is. So I wanted to ask if there was a way, if that's a meeting with you and Adam, or what is that to get our program reimbursed for what we're doing for free.
We can schedule a meeting. You can, select for anything, we'd like to keep a good record of things, so if you have a request, I would request it put in writing. So, but we can schedule a meeting. I don't know if I necessarily want to get into too much of this, Andy, but I know, volunteer fires are not supposed to be responding to wildland fire, especially to the fire qualifications, with that contract.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have emergencies, there are emergencies. I've been on the tribal side of things also.
Well, we know we're not supposed to respond to wildland fires, but the police dispatch calls us 5 times, and an hour's gone by, the fire is growing and growing and growing. I'm not gonna let my backyard burn, I'm waiting for other people to be called in. I've played the game a few times, message Travis, call Tracy, and they can't get through. And we can't sit there. I don't think our leaders and my supervisors in this room would be very happy with me if I let a fire go and I couldn't put it out.
Well, since I've been here, I feel like the fire program, they're, like I said, they're almost fully staffed, they're well experienced, and from what I've seen, they've been pretty responsive, since I've been here. Obviously, we could use more staffing, we're trying to get the aides on board right now. I think we only have 10 operate now, so we could certainly use more.
Well, I know it's a staffing issue, and I'm not gonna say bitching about it. We have no problem. Our guys enjoy it, they love getting out there and doing things. I'm just looking at down the road, come October, our programs are gonna be done. I'm looking, just like the rest of the time, I'm looking for ways to generate some money back to keep us afloat.
Okay. Well, I would say, I think the best thing was if you put it in writing, and then we had a meeting, and certainly, obviously, I think some self-determination is going to have to weigh in also. So. Okay. Social services, mostly been business as usual for us at social services. We haven't had a lot of changes as far as staffing. That's something that we're continuing to work on. We have a call with HR this afternoon, but we've been waiting for a social worker, one of our other social worker position to be finalized through HR recruitment so we can get it advertised, because those are one of the positions that are exempt from the hiring freeze. So hopefully we can get that position out on the street soon. The rep positions, we have 2 more rep positions that we want to be moving along also with HR, so we can get those advertised also. I currently still have 2 reps at the agency, a secretary, a social worker, and 2 IDIQ contractors. We've been waiting on our final allocation for this fiscal year. And once we get a clearer picture of that, one of my plans still is to try to bring on another IDIQ contractor, social worker, so we can get more support. One thing I wanted to make the tribe or the council aware of too, I'm gonna have a call this week, but I had a request from the region to help provide some assistance at Fort Beck Agency. They are severely understaffed. There's some tenants with the DRP. And so I'm gonna call this week to see if we can help and provide some assistance. I always want to make sure we're maintaining our priorities here with our social services program, but just to see if we can help where we can. We got a couple of staff that are willing, but like I said, I want to make sure our priorities are met here first. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the department was invited to, Tribal Court has a stakeholders meeting on Thursdays at 2:30. Our tribal agencies have been getting together. If they have not been invited, then they should be.
Okay.
You can reach
So on
out
Thursdays
to
at
the tribal court.
I'll check.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move over to self-determination. Alicia's detail got extended. Obviously, just as a reminder, she doesn't work for the agency anymore. She works for field operations in the central office, but she's been on the detail with the region because they're shorthanded. But she still provides support and assistance to the agency also. So I guess if they need the council or our program directors, if they need any technical assistance, have any questions, they can reach out to her still. She's still her office just works right out of the agency. You can see the funding in there. She put the UDO in there too. I know President Small here was asking about what's currently sitting in ASAP. Just a reminder on the audit report deadline, which is June 30th, end of this month. Just sending a second reminder to the tribe today. And the recontracting proposal deadline is June 30th also. She said the notification was sent to the tribe on May 1st. For HR, we're still dealing with the current hiring freeze that's going on in the government. We do have, like I said, some exempted positions that are listed out there. I mentioned them already for social services and for fire. Still waiting on the CR, our third and final allocation to be sent out. I just seen some emails, even this morning again, that it looks like there's some money moving into Indian Affairs that are going to be now, because we've been trying to get, we're out of welfare assistance funding. We put in for a request for additional funding, and so we've got foster parents that are waiting to get their payments for this last month. But we've been getting, I just got another update from central office this morning, and there's funding that's moving into the BI, like I said, and it'll be moving down the line to the region, to the agency. So hopefully that's a good sign that we'll get our final allocation to the CR, complete funding for the year. We got an electronic records project that's going on. They're going to be here in August. That's through BTFA. We've had a few meetings with them already. They're doing some training with the staff, our agency records contacts, and so we're working on digitizing all of our records. It's going to be a big project for us. Facilities, I just wanted to mention right off, that is the second staff member that took the DRP is John Wonder. He decided to opt in. He retired also, like Alonzo. Been at the agency for over 20 years. Just real happy for John, and we came back in last week, but he's pretty fired up about it. He can go do something else, he said. And just a hard worker, spent a lot of years at the agency, putting in a lot of good work for facilities. So he took the DRP also, so I'm down to 2 facility staff now. That's one of the hats Deborah's wearing as the acting facilities manager. So 2 big items there for us obviously still are the detention facilities. I know we had gone back and forth with the tribe on who was going to do the boiler replacement at the adult detention center, and that was, with the new council, new administration here, that was turned back to us. So the regional facilities office manager, Forrest Smith, working with contractors, the advertisement for the boiler, and so hopefully they'll make a selection on that soon, and we can get that contractor in here to get that system replaced. The youth service center, I think we finally, after a long time, got a fix to getting that water into the facility. The well is fine, yeah, it's just that VFD, I can't get into a lot of technical stuff, that engineering stuff, but I think he's finally got that figured out. There's a contractor we use, MTI, in our buildings, he's been meeting with, so real close to finally getting that water running properly into the facility. There's some other work that's got to be done in there, but we have been working, making progress. It's not as fast, obviously, as we'd like, but hopefully we'll be turning that facility back over to HEOJS soon. One other thing I wanted to mention, if you didn't already know, I think President Small knows, the regional director took the DRP, Leslie Shakespeare. I think a lot of the council members, Leslie, our prior council. He took the DRP, he might be back. If you're over 40 years old, you have 45 days to reconsider the DRP. So he made a choice, but he might be coming back. So we'll see. I think we'll know real soon here, probably the next week or so. But in the meantime, the field director, Bart Stevens, I think some of the council president, he's been here. He placed Keith Dennis as the acting regional director now. He's on the 120-day detail as acting regional director. A couple other things I just wanted to mention. One of them is the reorganization consultations. I'm not sure if the tribal council's been participating in those. I know those started almost 2 weeks ago. I think they started in Alaska, then they went to California. But I think about another week, those are going to be done. So I guess if you do have any concerns about the proposed reorganization that is going to happen in Indian Affairs, you want to attend those virtual consultations or even in person if you like, or provide comments.
Is there one in Montana?
No, there's not one in Montana. I mean,
Bismarck, yeah, they was going to have one in Bismarck. I think Minneapolis,
when is that one scheduled for Bismarck?
June 10th, 11th, somewhere.
So
That was just added right at the end there for you.
next week, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, like I said, if you have any concerns about the reorganization that's coming in the BIA, that's where you want to address those concerns. So, just wanted to, I already talked a little bit about our superintendent's meeting we had a couple weeks ago. A lot of the regional programs came in, reported. A lot of the discussion revolved around the changes to the administration. A lot of it right now is DRP. I think in total, the last report that I got from the regional director, there was 39 total in the region that took the DRP. I think 9 were retirees and 30 just resigned. Fortunately, only 2 here. We'll just continue to do the best we can. Like I said, a lot of the presentations, a lot of the discussion revolved around DRP and the new changes. Fire, obviously, like I said, that was a big conversation about the proposed fire reorganization. You know, as far as I understand, the consultations, like I said, are going on. After that, you know, obviously, I think the administration is going to make a decision on how or if the BIA is going to be reorganized. So, but that's all I have for now. President Small, if there's any questions. Glad to see Donnie Wetzel's in the house. Okay, thank you, folks. Have a good week. I'll be off Wednesday. Adam will be acting, but as far as that goes, I'll be in the office the rest of the week. If you need anything, just call me or send me an email. Thanks.
Item 3, budgets.
Thank you, Annie.
Good morning. I have a resolution here. A resolution of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council authorizing the modification and or adoption of certain budgets for the expenditure of available funds. Therefore, it be resolved that the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council hereby authorizes the following budgets to be enacted or modified and approves the contemplated expenditures contained in the presented budgets, subject to the listed conditions, restrictions, or constraints. Program budgets for FY '25. We have 2 for LEAP, 162, 197, 337-9999, 337-A, 387A, 387C, 387D, 575, 580, 581, 584, 593, 718, 786, 814, 818, 839, 922, 935.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Take the motion. Okay. Motion by Melissa Lombard to authorize the modification and or adoption of certain budgets for the expenditure of available funds new through 9/35. Second by Eva Foote. Melissa Lombard.
Yes.
Howard Montaveros.
Yes.
Stefan Reiniger.
Yes.
Eva Foote. Dejoni Freeze.
Yes.
Ernest Littlemouth.
Yes.
Donovan Lumberhand.
Yes.
Teresa Small. Yes. Gwen Spotterhorse. Yes. Melissa Fisher.
Yes.
10 yes, motion carried.
Thank you, Shannon.
I got a question, admin. Put a budget for approval and see it's not on the resolution.
We referred it back to
refer it back to where?
To your office?
Wow. I haven't seen it, so.
Cheyenne, I still have it, but it was supposed to come back to your office. There wasn't a job description or anything in it.
We could pass the budget and work on the job description.
No, that's how we got trouble with the, attorney business.
Well, I could take.
So we just asked for a working session with you to go over everything and then we don't want the same situation now.
Well, this money's been sitting here, and I think it was needed for us to move forward with our programs, you know. we
It's
talked
an
about last
educational
week.
service, if you have a executive assistant that does this.
That money's been sitting here for 3-4 years now.
We had to
Spent
pump it
it.
out.
I don't know why it's being, keep being kicked back, so I'd like
We
to
had
sit
to
down as
pump
soon
it
as
out.
possible, we get it done.
We asked for a working session with you on that position.
Okay, well, I didn't get any correspondence on it, so.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to number 5, Donnie.
Minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes for March 20th.
Sorry.
I'll make a,
I'll second.
okay.
The only comment I have for you, on the ones that, did make it down, put a notation in there, the reason for them not including the when Tori did submit those corrected versions to you, just make a note in there.
Motion by Melissa Fisher to approve minutes from March 20th, 2025 regular session with the corrections, noting of why the ones did not make it to the BIA. Second by Melissa Lombard. Melissa Lombard,
Yes.
Howard Montaros,
Yes.
Stephen Raineyberg,
Yes.
Eva Foote, Dejoni Freeze,
Yeah.
Ernest Littlemouth, Donovan Lumberhand,
Yes.
Teresa Small, Gwen Spotted Horse, Melissa Fisher,
Yes.
10 yes, motion carried.
Okay, Donnie.
Thank you, President. It's good to see everybody at the Northern Cheyenne Council. Thank you for having me come out. My name is Donnie Wetzel Jr. I work at Department of Labor and Industry and as the new travel liaison. It's the first time I've ever had a travel liaison office there. And it's really been developed to increase and improve resource sharing and communication. There's a lot of services that sometimes miss our tribal nations, and I think your tribe is a great example of things that can happen once we start communicating better. So I want to thank you all for allowing us to create the first ever job service office in a tribal facility, and that just came from discussions with, the council, and that many of the members have to go to Billings or Miles City to seek services from job service, and then to have it here. And we're working with every tribal nation. It's very cool to see the interest that they're watching these things happen and to have all the services, and we're moving pretty fast. I think our communications are improving, and I'll introduce some of my crew here and some of the folks from job service and unemployment. There's a lot that I didn't realize the labor and industry did, and I came from Indian education, I came from various places, and we're really looking at trying to get more services and purpose to many of our young people, our young able-bodied people. And how do we get them a job? How do we get them certified? How do we create more carpenters, welders, bus drivers, whatever? And the beauty of it is
You know, coming out of education, a lot of times we improve, we of course want youth to go to higher ed, go to college, but a lot of times they get a degree that there's nothing here that they can work in. And with some of the certification, construction and all this different things, they can get certified and work right at home and improve the, you know, the communities. And so, a few things is, we've been working with the Terrell offices on each tribe, and we've had roundtable discussions with the Terrell offices and the directors. We're gonna have another meeting June 17th in Bozeman. And I think, the beauty of this is we're working hand in hand together with the tribal nations. They're providing guidance for us, so each reservation, each tribe has their own objectives, and we're helping them reach them. Like we had Fort Belknap, Ani Dakota Nations had the first ever job expo on the reservation. We had about 500 to 600 youth come through, and those job expos are just hands-on, you know, chance for people to come and, you know, they were getting in the Northwest Energy things, lifting them up in the air and doing lineman work and doing various hands-on things. A lot of our youth and young people really are drawn to that, the hands-on activities. So we're doing that, we're developing a CDL program up in Belknap, and each of our reservation communities, they have some objectives to reach, and so we'll be meeting with folks on June 17th. A lot of it is kind of tied to what's happening at a federal level, and we're trying to find out where we can help provide services. So that'll be coming up, and you all are always welcome to come to those meetings. We're just kind of doing open communications. But one thing that we're finding out is we're highlighting some of the entrepreneurship in Indian country. And there's a lot of stigma around not going to college, and we want to try to knock that down, that it's okay if you don't go to college and get certified in it with a trade. So we have a video series of young Native people that have started their own business. And, you know, I come from an educational background, an educational family, and I understand that stigma. So these young people are fantastic in these videos. And I could get that to you guys, and we probably could maybe watch one here if you wanted. You know, it's on our DLI YouTube page. But really powerful on getting our kids comfortable. If they don't go to college, or because you ask them, they're like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I'm just supposed to go. Then debt comes in, or, you know, it works out for the most part, but this is just other options that we're really focusing on. And I wanted to introduce Lisa Adoni, is our tribal youth poets and our youth engagement specialist. And she's a former kind of a student of mine from Hayes Lodge Pole, and one of the best young leaders I've seen. And so she's providing that outreach to youth, getting right with them, listening to them. And we want to try to capture those that are floating around. She came up with that term, floaters. So it's going to be a pretty good thing. We're calling it Indigenous Workforce Warriors out of the DLI. And we have posters that we'll be handing out at the Terrell meeting, and start, like we did with Indian Education. We made a poster series. We'll do that for some of these trades and industry, entrepreneur, young people. We even have a young group of drummers that's their job. They're in Fort Peck, and they have a good solid drum group, and they're 5, 6 boys, they're young men, and they travel, and that's cool, you know, that's okay. Having a poster of them on a wall in the school might open up some minds that, hey, we can do all these things and have a career, you know. So that's some of the things that we're working on. I think what I've found out the most is, you know, I'm from Blackfeet country, graduated Harlem, had 3 Harlem Wildcats with Andy and Cheyenne. I sit here looking at each other, wondering what's going on. But I think you know, in the country, we have everything we need, you know, we don't need anybody to come in anymore. And I think we have the top level educators, we have the top level workers, and the vision is that we create, and many tribes are already doing this, but our own construction, our own broadband teams, so we don't have anybody that's needed anymore, because they sometimes take advantage of our people. We were working with the Little Shell Tribal Nation to create a tribal tech training center. And that would be the first in the state of Montana, and it would be something that our native youth, whoever wanted to, would come to and do a training. One big thing that keeps coming up between the tribes, I don't know if you've seen the job corps is going to be cut. And so there's been a discussion that could the tribes join forces and create a job training center strictly for our tribal people. And of course, anyone who wanted to come in could come in, but centrally located or whatever, that comes up a lot. And because Kiki Morse, when that disappeared, it took a lot of trainings away. So those are a few things. And that's kind of my spiel. If you have any questions, I can answer that, and then I'll introduce our job service staff, and they can come up and visit.
I just have a comment. I just want to thank Donnie. These discussions started a couple years ago when we were actually at the Terrell Conference in Wind River. And Gibby Rousset from Rocky Way kind of took the lead on these small roundtables. We talked about providing options rather than college, like Donnie mentioned. And then he connected with the Department of Labor, and that's where the roundtable discussions come from. So with the tribe, we started a workforce development movement. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much interest from the directors, but we still need to, we had a meeting last weekend to push on. It's so important right now because we have to provide other options. Our kids were without education for 3 years because we were the last one to open our doors. So that was the push behind this, is because we have to provide them with some kind of hands-on training. I was able to visit the high school in Felicia, and she's doing good things up there. Just to be able to sit with those kids and explain to them, they can find things they enjoy doing and be able to provide for themselves doing it. We have kids that have stepped up and started their own little businesses and whatever. We need to market those kids. We need to encourage them and provide an avenue for them to move forward and to expand on their own businesses. So again, you guys.
We did have a few students this year in our graduating class that completed the CNA training at the school, or through the school-based health. So that's a plus with our school. We have that completed. So I look forward to many more classes.
I've got a few questions. First of all, there are a lot of college-oriented people here that can't get jobs. So you need to look into that too. And then, years ago, there was something called a payment fee, whereas high school students and middle school students could get jobs during the summer to train them to be job-oriented. It worked out great. Gave them a lot of pride. They were able to take a check home, and they learned skills. That should be also an option. And then I see a lot of problems in employment here. And one of them is, where do the complaints go and get addressed? Nepotism is very open here, whereas a lot of people just kind of gave up applying for jobs. Or, you know, why should I apply? I'm not gonna get so-and-so's niece is getting it. So those are problem areas you see that need to be looked into and come up with solutions. And that's it. Thank you, and I'm glad to see you here.
Thank you very much. I was gonna say, we have an unemployment team here, and they can share some of the things that we're gonna be doing this afternoon for folks who may have been laid off or anything that's coming up. I was meeting with our unemployment office team out of the state of Montana last Thursday or Friday, and there's a lot of communication in our office. Is getting pretty busy. This job service office right here is getting very busy. And I asked them, is this the norm when we travel with Indian country? And he said, no. Unfortunately, in the state, they'll find out a couple weeks, a month later, and some of those services get missed. So we kind of made a commitment. This will be the new norm. So like as communication improves, we have another crew coming this afternoon to take part in the training. And we have, one thing that I've noticed with Department of Labor and Industry is there's a wealth of knowledge and resource in human capacity. Education where it took a lot of people to just rally. These guys are rallying almost too much towards me in helping resources for our tribal nations, you know, but it's pretty exciting to see. I would like to have them come up and say some words and introduce themselves. If you haven't met them before, Lana is gonna be in the office. We'll have Amy. You guys can come up and share kind of what you wanted to share today.
Hello, everybody. I'm Amy Dynas. I am the manager of Miles City, Glenda, and now Reindeer Job Services. Glenda Egan is the supervisor here, so, and then I will also introduce Kathy Schoenbach and Christy Spielman. These are the other two that you will see in the office every day, so feel free to go over and introduce yourselves and say hi. We have had a lot of questions about who we are, what we do, what job service is and isn't, so I'm just going to go through this really quick. I'm going to have Landon just come around and give out a quick little handouts that we have of everything. You will find that job service does a little bit of everything, and if we don't do something, we may have the resources to help you guys out and find where it is. So a lot of times we are, what I like to say, the resource finders. If we can't do it, we may be able to find it for you, help you out. We do career counseling, job seeker assistance, training assistance, workforce development, and business resources. I'm not gonna read through this for you because I got a lot of it and I know you guys are short on time. But we do not do job placement, but we will help you look for a job. We will help you with writing a resume, cover letter. We have a lot of people coming in now for like Zooms. If you have an interview and you have to do a Zoom or Teams, how do we do that? It looks a whole lot different when you have to do it in person and when you have to do it over the computer. Feels different. We can help you prepare for that. For exploration, I know why you guys are talking about what is it like in schools. We go a lot of times to the schools because a lot of these kids are like, I want to do what my mom does, my dad does, I want to do what, I don't know what it looks like. I just know the careers, I want to be a teacher. That's what I've seen. So we go in and I have these ones called career heroes that are doing that are the coolest things ever. And they're like, here's a card. And we're like, this is what a judge makes. This is how many years of school it is. This is what they make. And we're like, line up with the card you have. And they'll go, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. And then they find out the welder makes the same as the judge. And the judge just had to have how many years of school. Yeah, that's okay if that's what you want to do, but you know, it's really neat that we can have those conversations with seventh graders. We're in as young as seventh grade. We go in and have those conversations. We even have coloring things for kindergartners where they have A through B and they can color every different group. So we can have those conversations with the schools. And then self-help, anybody can stop in our office, use our research computers for anything they need for job search, or they can use the fax machine if they need fax something. So feel free to come on in, visit with the folks, talk to them if you need some self-help. And that's the same with when they're doing UI. They're more than welcome to use any of our computers, because I will tell you, do not use a phone if you're doing UI. Come on in and use a computer, it goes a lot faster, a lot easier. The other thing, I'm cheating using mine too. We do have some training assistance help. So if they're like, hey, I'm looking to get my CDL, I'm looking to get a nursing degree at MCC, I'm looking to get on-the-job training, I know somebody over here that I may be able to pay 50% of their wage for 6 months if they qualify and we have the funding. We cover Rosebud County, we're a new office. We may have a limited amount of funding, but we will have that conversation if they qualify. We have 2 programs, adult dislocated worker. Dislocated worker is if you are laid off or on unemployment and you know you want to go into a training. We will have that conversation with them if we have the funding and they qualify. Let's see if we can get them into a training and get them employed.
Can I just ask you a question about that? Is it income-based?
Dislocated is not income-based. Dislocated is based on if you are on unemployment or if you are laid off, you have to be non-job attached unemployment, and there are, we have to qualify you. Adult is income-based, same things, but we have a pre-application. We ask everybody to fill it out. I will meet with my case managers in this office, and we will see where our funding level's at, what the training is, what the funding is available. There are some people we may say, we have $500 to help you. We have, it matters where our funding is at, what we have available, and then we'll look at co-enrollments. REO is another funding base that we use a lot. So we bring in our partners to co-enroll. We talk to anybody that we're like, okay, who else can we bring in to see what we can do to come up with a package, so to speak, to get somebody through funding and help. And that's where we case manage them, try and get them through successfully, try and find a job at the end of this journey.
Do you guys, say somebody's already employed somewhere and they want to go to a training underneath that employment, do you guys help them any type of way?
So, good question. That actually would be under the business section I'm going to be talking about, because we have some funding called incumbent worker training. If they've been employed for over 6 months or out of what we call probation, so if they are gainfully employed, there is a couple programs that a business can apply for. One is for $2,500 to get them into a higher or more skill-based employment with their employer. Their employer can apply for that funding. And then there is another one that matters where their income base is even with their employment, where that is a grant of up to $5,000. So we can have that conversation both with the employee and the employer to see if we can help them raise that employer up in their skill level. So it's kind of one of those, we work both with the business and the employer, so we need to have that conversation with both of those if it's an employment situation. So it's kind of skipping ahead a bit. But it's a great question, because the training is a great way to get our people to be like, okay, yeah, we can get you to that next level. And when you have like, I'm ready to train and I love this job, but I want to get in the higher level, we can do that. Business services, recruitment, retention is huge, right? We can help you post a job. We can help you with your job descriptions if you're having trouble getting somebody in there. We can help you with like applicant testing, like I need a typing test to know if they can do the minimum requirements of the job, anything like that, just come talk to us on that. And then job fairs and careers fairs, we're gonna let these guys settle for a while, but we may talk about that in the next year or so. I mean, we got new people here, yeah.
I just have a comment. So we had an IHS update, and we talked about this with our governmental agencies before, BIA, IHS, and we have people that have applied and they don't get a response on their applications because it's done on USA Jobs. So I talked to Marnell this morning in Cheyenne, and we talked about maybe setting up some computers, which would be perfect, or to walk through. One of the things people don't realize when they do a IHS, I know for sure with IHS, if you have bullets on your resume, it won't recognize it.
So that's, applicant tracking system is huge. So we can actually go through and do applicant tracking and show you how you have to do that. And actually, if you're doing USA Jobs, I would highly recommend you go on and do their resume through theirs, because they will do resume making with you. And we can have training with the gals here if that's a huge part of yours, and say like, this is what you need to do and how you need to do it. And there is a guy out of Missoula that is an expert. I mean, he's an expert on the federal job ones, because though they're a monster, I won't kid you. I've made one for myself just to see how they're done, and they're not easy. And so we can teams in somebody. So let's say it's like, we need to get this done. We have the technology to teams in somebody to help these guys out as they're learning. And we can have those conversations too. We'll need to make appointments and we'll need to, have that done that way, but we can help people out with those. So definitely, we can bring that into the conversation. It's gonna take some time, but we can make that happen. Because those are definitely not an easy application, but they make a huge difference to get those jobs. So God bless you, we can do to make that happen. So on the business side, the other thing for skills and training, registered apprenticeship, we can help bring them in if you guys have a business or a job where you're like, this requires some skills training, and we want to have a step system where we can bring in that, in a way that we can get the skills up and bring in the pay that goes up on that way. We can bring them in. And then we have law posters, never paid for them. We always have to say that. The girls have them in the office. In the office, you guys can read these, but here's the tax incentive programs we have. Work opportunity tax credit, income and worker training I talked about a little bit. It's up to $2,500 for any time you are getting, you are putting somebody into a skills-based training. We would have to look what the requirements are if it has to be a business, a profit, non-profit business. I don't think a government entity would work, so you would have to read that. And the money does go pretty fast, so every time the quarters come, we have to look at that. Federal bonding, that's $5,000 to bond somebody at no cost to you. And the workforce opportunity grant is the $5,000. And then rapid response services, that's what's going on this afternoon. That is when there is a layoff of more than like 5 people. We offer that to help with UI services and let them know what job service we offer. And then we have all the information on here about us. We're just down the hall. We are usually open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 to 5, and then Wednesday from 10 to 5. Just an FYI, we will be closed tomorrow and the next day. They are going to some mandatory training in Billings. What do you got for questions for me? I went through that really fast. Yeah.
So we're talking about the clinical looks, on the stage.
Oh, that's such a hard one because 14 is unusual, but there are restrictions. So there's times and day restrictions during the school hour, and then there are some things that you cannot do. But so it's like between, I always get it, Memorial and Labor Day and Memorial Day, they can only work during certain hours. And we have a child labor law not poster, but handout at the office if anybody would like that we can definitely give to you on that. Yep.
Thank you again for your response. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you, guys. We'll be there today if anybody wants to come and see what we're doing. You, I will be there and everything also.
Let's move on to number 6.
Can you identify them on the top? Najoni, are you on? Okay. Beth, are you? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. An ordinance of the. Jean? Are you ready? No, okay. An ordinance. Hi, Brian. An ordinance of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council codifying and adopting the revised law and order code of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe and repealing all prior and conflicting ordinances and law of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe. So we'll go down to the third, whereas the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council wishes to codify and adopt revisions to the tribe's law and order code, whereas a draft of the law and order code was formally published for public comment, which commenced October 22nd, 2024, and extended again in October of 2024, which expired December 27th of 2024, and only 3 public comments were submitted and reviewed. Whereas, in order to enhance the efforts of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council to update the law and order code of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe, all 3 branches of government have engaged in thorough discussion with the Native Law Group of Boulder, Colorado, and the tribe's legal team. And whereas the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council has concluded that the adoption of the codification of the revised law and order code titles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, shown in the attached exhibits, is the best interest of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe and its members. Now therefore be it ordained as follows. The attached law and order code titles are hereby approved and adopted. 2, the attached law and order code titles be the Northern Cheyenne Tribe revised law and order code and shall repeal and supersede the existing corresponding law and order code titles and any conflicting ordinances and resolutions, and the revised law and order code reflected in the attached titles are hereby ordained and shall have effective date of October 1st, 2025. Title 4 of the law and order code, the tribes our Title 9 of the Tribe Law and Order Code, Tribe's Probate Code is not repealed and remains in effect as was ordained in July 30th of 2014, Ordinance DOI 128, 2014, and approved by the Secretary of Interior. Title 11 of the Law and Order Code, the Landlord and Tenant Rights Code is not repealed and shall remain in effect. That is my motion. I had one question come up, and I sent a request to Beth and Brian in regards to the evidence, in the evidence code with the digital authentication. Did you guys have anything? Brian and Beth?
You know, Melissa, that I cannot find anything in Title VI about digital authentication, so without a reference to specific protection, I'm really just not sure what the reference to digital authentication means.
Okay. Well, that is my motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Melissa Fisher to codify and adopt the revised law and order code of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe and repeal repealing all prior and conflicting ordinances and laws of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe, second by Melissa Lombard. Melissa Lombard,
Yes.
Howard Montaveros,
Yes.
Stephen Rainey
Yes.
Eva Foote, Najoni Freeze,
Yes.
Ernest Littlemouth,
No.
Corey Davy, Donovan Lumberhand,
Yes.
Teresa Small,
Yes.
Gwen Spotted Melissa Fisher,
Yes.
9 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Yeah.
I tried to ask a question before the vote was taken and was not given the opportunity, but I'd like to know why this new change in law of voter code is not on a referendum vote. When it affects the whole tribe, it should be a referendum vote. And number two, handing out questionnaires is not as efficient as this tribe holding community meetings in each district to tell you what this law and order code is changing. Those are the two things that I would like to have some sort of feedback on, and I'd like to know why these laws are put into effect without community input. Piece of, finding that piece of paper doesn't say more than a community meeting where people can voice their concerns. Thank you.
Well, it was given out for a 45 day comment period, right? It was
Yeah.
put
Well,
out
actually, it was longer. Yeah.
Longer than that.
Yeah.
From October to December. And we did take it out before, we did have a community meeting years ago. Was actually Alan Fisher and I that coordinated those. At that time, the attorney was Dion Philflack, and unfortunately, the only comments that were received were handwritten, and he didn't record the session. He didn't fulfill his contract responsibilities to provide us with the markup of what was reviewed, so this is something that's been a long time coming and has been worked on for about years.
Thank you, guys.
Any more questions? Okay, number 7, draw down the EDC count. This is Lynette Verlanik. The other day, she pulled me up to me and some accounts that was sitting there. And this account's been sitting there for a while. She wanted the money drawn down and put in the EDC and close that account out. So that's what this resolution is. The resolution of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council authorizing the cash transfer from Office of Special Trust Account JA-9154-14-5 for the fiscal year 2025 through 29C Economic Development. Third, whereas the Tribal Council desires to make certain expenditures from those accounts or from those funds, and the Budget Finance Committee of the Tribal Council with recommendation of the administration or competent board has considered such OST to request. Now therefore be it resolved, the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council hereby authorize the Office of Special Trust to transfer $6,045.51 from the Indian Claims Commission, JA 9154-14-5 to assist in supplementing with economic development.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve, and with the correction in the heading, and I'll make sure that the correction is done, Secretary. It's no longer Office of Special Trust, it is the Bureau of Trust Funds Administration. So I'll make that correction, and, I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Melissa Fisher to authorize the cash transfer from the Bureau of Funds Administration account to JA 9154-14-5 for the fiscal year 25-329C Economic Development. Second by Melissa Lombard. Melissa Lombard?
Yes.
Howard Montaros?
Yes.
Stephen Rainey
Yes.
Eva Foote? Nijoni Freeze?
Yes.
Ernest Littlemouth?
Yes.
Donovan Lumberhand?
Yes.
Teresa Small? Gwen Spotted Horse?
Yes.
Melissa Fisher?
Yes.
10 yes, motion carried.
Just an FYI, I guess we'll have to put a budget together too, so we're gonna budget with that resolution. Has to go with that resolution. All right, moving on, number 8, on that same meeting up there with, ETFA. Brought to my attention that, the president wasn't, was missing, so the treasurer and the vice president, number 3 on the initiate investment activities, was never added, so, that's what this is, basically just adding the number 3, bullet point there. Initiate investment activities, there's still a change to this thing, we just added the president on there.
I'll make the motion to approve a resolution of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council updating the appointment of designated tribal officials authorized to access the United States Department of Interior accounts, with the correction of adding the, initiate investment activities, the president's not out of the motion.
Second.
Motion by Melissa Fisher to update the appointment of designated tribal officials authorized to access United States Department of Interior accounts with the correction of adding, initiate investment activities under President Gene Small, second by Eva Foote. Melissa Lombard?
Yes.
Howard Montaros?
Yes.
Stephen Rainey
Yes.
Eva Foote?
Yes.
Nijoni Freeze?
Yes.
Ernest Littlemouth?
Yes.
Tori Davy? Donovan Lumberhand?
Yes.
Teresa Small?
Yes.
Gwen Spotted Horse?
Yes.
Melissa Fisher?
Yes.
10 yes, motion carried.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9, we're establishing tribal emergency response community commission.
This is a resolution of the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council establishing the 2025 Northern Cheyenne Tribal Emergency Response Commission, originally known as Turkey. This is a response to the DES coordinators, that position that has been recently let go. Also in response to any upcoming preparedness for disasters, man-made and natural. Where do I go? Wait, this tree right here.
Do you want her to start?
Are there any questions? We have Randy and Catherine here if anybody has questions. There is also a letter that supports the DES coordinator, the duties to be under the Fire Protection Department. So is there one that exists, is this updating, or is this the first time?
Well, it's been passed before, we've had a church committee before in the past. It worked really well. I don't need to talk about that, really.
But we need you to be seen by
Oh,
the, by the database.
So, the church committee did exist in the past. It was a great tool to get all of our people together. It's mainly a volunteer scenario. We pick different individuals from different programs, different functions on the reservation, bring everybody together and plan and prepare for upcoming disasters, man-made emergencies. We used to do a lot of tabletop exercises. I think we had a meeting once a month. We did this back when I was in law enforcement. And it brings a lot of the key players to the table, you know, rather than just one person running around trying to coordinate and trying to do everything. It brings a whole group of people together. One of the benefits to this, getting this reestablished and back up and going is, like you heard me say earlier to Mr. Andy Work, our fire department is probably the most struggling program on this reservation right now. Come this October, we may not have a fire department. So our reaction to that is to start this program back up and give the ability and the authority to deal with huge events back to our people. You know, as support of our tribe. Where we've been working for several years now to get volunteers back on the fire department, we're slowly gaining more. You know, every couple of months we pick up another interested individual. But we have done this and it has worked great. Teresa came in on it when she was the DES coordinator. Turk committee was still up and running. I know Angel had tried to call a couple of Turk meetings, but there was no response, there was no people who showed up. But what my thoughts are on this is for several months, my office manager, Catherine, has been helping Angel, because Angel didn't have a secretary, didn't have anything, so I offered Catherine to assist in any way Angel needed. So when Catherine's position was removed or the layoffs happened, Angel's position, sorry, when the layoffs happened, you know, that puts us in a scary spot. Not having those services, not having somebody to coordinate, not having somebody to respond to an emergency other than fire and law enforcement stuff. We still have response there, but all the other stuff we don't. So in talking with Catherine, we decided that Catherine would head the majority of all DES functions. She'll coordinate, she's got the call tree, she's got connections everywhere. We have passed it through the president's office and got concurrence on DES functions coming under the fire department. Simply so there's just not a break, it just doesn't stop. I'm a little different view-wise than some of the people in the past. I don't think water going down the west side is a life or death emergency. You know, we have other things that are life or death emergencies, but it will be up to Catherine to coordinate, you know, water coming out, you know, get utilities involved. If water's out, that's kind of their responsibility. They need to get up, step up and provide for our people. Is there any questions on kind of our direction, what we're looking at?
So this draft here, I know, DES and part of this was written into the AFA. Does this match what was written into the AFA? Did you cross-reference?
We just took from whatever was at the DES,
We took what we had
the revised.
prior, and we need to revise and update, you know, for going forward. We just want to get the ball rolling. You know, we got fire season coming right around the corner, and that's always chaos here. Seems like we're on every 3 to 4 year cycle with the reservation burning down. Well, we're on year 2 of that, so it could happen at any time. But this is just kind of cookie cutter what we've done in the past. I know our emergency operations plan is updated. We'll get that rolled out and for review and for comment. But right now, this is just cookie cutter, getting it established again and get back on the path of, you know, being proactive rather than reacting 5 days after something's happened.
Or the last one.
If that's the case, of just getting it established, I would recommend to hold off on the operations plan until those, documents are cross-referenced. So maybe start keeping the
What document you talking
paragraph,
about? What document you talking about?
the AFA. So PDS had, they're bringing the AFA. So this operations plan needs to match whatever was written in the AFA. And if that has been reviewed, I think, that needs to be done before.
So,
Or just establishing a committee.
so there's no money. We're not, our program, like I said before, is struggling. And we're not gonna have the money to put out to do really anything. My letter to the president was we were willing to take the duties, but we don't have the money to, for the big events, we don't have the money to go to town and buy pallets and pallets of water. We're basically going to put a group of people together, directors, volunteers, and be coming to you guys for the support in a major emergency. We don't, Catherine's not taking a pay increase for this, I'm not taking a pay increase for this. This is simply us trying to bridge the gap until DES program is reestablished or whatever it may be. Right now, I don't know anything at all about the AFA.
So there's public health emergency preparedness, it's PEP. And it's a Department of Health and Human Services. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about funding, I'm not talking about salaries or anything. I'm talking about the language.
I thought that was taken out, and that was why she was under the president, underneath that, right? Because wasn't she under Bula?
She was under Bula to begin with, and that was pulled completely out from under DS, as far as I know, had nothing to do with EMS or AFA or Board of Health. She was kind of just floating.
Well, the draft says 2016, I agree with establishing the third committee, but I just want, this review and process, like I said. So there's nothing conflicting.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, we can strike that.
Yeah.
Amanda?
Hi, as far as reestablishing, if you do have an outline of how your mechanism is going to work, it's always changeable. You can always improve. You can always change whatever is going on. But one thing also I'd like to ask you about is, do you have spot burning, slash burning, and stuff like that?
If people call me, then I will guide them through, getting their burn permit through Scott, and I will go assist them.
Okay.
A lot of these people don't call, they just go light something on fire, and I get a call from the police department rather than before and prepare and whatnot.
Yeah, well, we're all turning into almost like America in a lot of sense, because when I was growing up, if you had something to burn, you burned it.
Exactly.
A big deal. But nowadays, it's like I told you a long time ago, but there was an Indian man that was putting so many rules and regulations and laws on a person, you're tying us up with it. Pretty soon, we won't be able to. Thank you.
So, the third whereas says that it was, adopted in 2016?
What was that?
It was revised.
So this one that's attached is the one that exists?
Yep, that's the one that we've been going off of since I've been in there. I was in there, that's what we've been on.
Actually, I don't already passed.
That's what Bula said.
Oh, okay.
Actually, what I understand is that, Angel did rewrite the action plan, she sent it to Kim and Anna, and it was never, she sent a draft, and so we'll have to get a hold of that, because that's something that it probably is, it's more updated than this. This was just what we have in the office, kind of a baseline, I guess you could say. So that we need to get that from Anna and Kim.
Okay, so this one already,
Then, yeah, it's existing.
Ernest?
Right now, we've had, Tommy Lafreniere. Tommy Lafreniere makes trips over and monitors, and I've been piggybacking kind of off of what Pat Dennis is preparing for and talking about down below.
And usually Jason's like
Jason Whiteman's a good, he probably goes out every day and looks at the levels, I'm sure.
and then they have it on the NOAA website. Links.
So, Catherine, are you gonna, continue, are you gonna make a social media page or something to update the community? I know we were supposed to get the other system.
Well, as far as I know, any, media coverage and things like that have to come from the president or chairman. So I can do local things, but anything that's not local or it's, public like that has to go through. Well, according to this, like the one that's in place, the emergency plan, if it's, like with the revised plan that Angel did, if that gets passed, we'll have to go off of that one. I'd like to work off of that one, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been able to get it from her. So from my understanding, for my responsibilities and why I accepted this is to begin with, my duties and responsibilities, my goals, my commitment is communication. The main part of the plan is to establish the committee, people, directors or designees of programs to have the equipment or we'll have a team in each community. So that's my first responsibility is to get that established. And we do have, working with Angel, like I know that there's emergencies, there's disasters, there's, real emergencies, and then there's urgent matters. So right now, and where we're at right now is that urgent matters they'll be addressed as resources become available, as funds become available. Right now, because there is no position for a DAS coordinator, we're just accepting the duties and responsibilities. So we're really limited. We're not gonna have, we can't just jump into it and do, perform miracles, but we are going to establish the community and communicate with people, get people on board. So my main commitment is communication right now. So I didn't know until recently that Angel had to revise the plan. So I'd like to see that first before, and then I guess we can bring that back for approval or processes for that. But mainly, my responsibility right now is communication. So that's what we starting with is that. As far as media goes, I know when I read the emergency plan that's in place, everything goes to, it'll be up to the chairman to make those announcements. But it's a great suggestion. I really do believe that media is a great communicator, gets a lot of information out to the public, things like that. Eventually, yeah, that would be one of my goals.
So I just have a recommendation, well, because FIP is something that Board of Health has to execute, I think that could we rename it something else? Because if PERT is already approved under the FIP, and it's a duplication of a service, could we rename it to Northern China Crisis Response Committees?
I wouldn't have a problem with renaming, it can be named whatever it needs to be to succeed. My personal opinion right now is, I've worked in and around this tribe for 26 plus years now. And for 26 years, every time there's an emergency, we're reinventing the wheel. Every single time. Take something as simple as snow removal. We have a big to-do over snow removal every 10 years. Why? We need to find a plan that works, adopt it, and that's what we do every year. You know, we'll have a big to-do over a fire. You know, it's not like we've never had a fire come on the reservation before, but it's always a big stress for everybody. You know, we found, when I first took this job with Melissa's help, Angel's help, we found a way to take care of fires that are getting too big on our reservations. We got a group of people together and we roll with it. We've used it twice now, and it works seamlessly. Yeah, I think it's time to start, you know, making policies and procedures based off of our fire ones, adopting it. This is what we do. This is what we're gonna do for the next 10 years. Snow removal, same thing. The river floods every year, same thing. You know, it's time to start, instead of having a big chaos every time something happens. We've done this before, and it worked good the last time we did it, so that's what we're gonna do. We still got the number trees, we've got the contacts, we've got everything we need. We just need to get it in writing and hand out flyers if this is what we do now. We're always in reactive mode. We need to be prepared and not in reactive mode anymore.
Concerning response time, who responds quicker in these situations? And what is your criteria for what you deem an emergency in town or out of town? Do you guys not handle structure fires out of town, or are you mainly in town, or do you handle forestry situations? Like fires coming and it might impinge on a structure, do you guys respond to that? I'm a little hazy on what's your role. If we have a forestry department and you guys are more important, it sounds like, because the response is quicker, and then you guys need obviously more funding. But what is the criteria on your overlap with forestry? Where do they come in and where do you guys come in?
Right now, the way it works is I work very closely with Tracy Span. And me and Tracy will communicate, you know, different fire situations. If I'm in a house fire or a car wreck, where I think the fire could take off, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'll knock it out before it takes off. We work really closely together. Anything within a half a mile of a residence, me and Tracy are in communication. You know, wind direction, what the fire's doing, how it's working, and vice versa. You know, most of the time, our structure fires and car wreck fires, we have big enough trucks. Well, we've only got 2 trucks, to be totally honest with you, 2 running, functioning trucks for the fire department. But our trucks are generally big enough. If a house fire starts trying to spread to the grass, it doesn't take us the 5 seconds to knock it out to keep it from spreading. It's the wildland fires that come in towards us that sometimes we're not right there or whatever. But it is a continuous communication with forestry. They use our resources from time to time, like you heard me tell Andy earlier. You know, I'm looking at avenues to get paid, reimbursed by BI Forestry, because there has been instances where, I shouldn't say me. You know, the council and previous president helped me buy the Command 1 truck. It's designed to do everything, you know, so there has been wildland fires that I've completely put out and I'm ready to go. And BIA shows up to mop up because they finally found a crew. You know, no default to them. They have staffing issues like everybody else does. But it's continuous teamwork with them. We do respond to out-of-town structure fires. We do respond to car fires. We do respond to car wrecks for extrication if we're called. Command 1 does have full extrication equipment on it, and I have cut quite a few people out of vehicles. But to me, right now, getting all the emergency response groups back together rather than being at different tables. Law enforcement needs to be at the table of this new committee. EMS needs to be there. Fire department needs to be there. Forestry needs to be there. You know, it's just, you know, teamwork. Rather than being all pushed apart again, we need to come back together. The turf thing was amazing. Back in this day when I was a police lieutenant, it was really awesome to have that huge group of community members willing to come help. You know, and there's things the committee can offer. You know, we can get everybody first aid CPR. We can get everybody, you know, traffic control training. it's just relying more on the community to step up and help more, rather than sit back with the cell phones and watch. Come get involved, come help us, you know.
So, to answer your question too, John, volunteer fire is structure protection, and then wildland fire is supposed to do like the, I guess, the line and, you know, bringing the firefighters and, so their main focus is supposed to be structure protection when fires coming. But in the most recent, fires, when incident command was set up here, we actually had volunteer fire that was going out there and helping. And then also, like local ranchers that had pumpers on their ranch trucks that were helping, structure protection and, wherever they were needed. So that, their main focus though is structure protection.
Like just the other day, the fire up on the water tower and the cell phone tower here in town, the west side, that was a forestry fire. It was outside the city limits, it was forestry's jurisdiction to put that fire out. What most people probably didn't notice is we also had a structure truck sitting down at the bottom of the hill in case something happened. You know, so we work together all the time.
I would just recommend on your, last, appropriate resolve, I would just recommend tribal programs as deemed necessary. It's up to the president's discretion to assign programs to assist this.
This is somewhat mandatory, we already used it on.
Well, like I said, this is getting us started. You know, my goal is to reestablish this, like I said, and quit reinventing the wheel every time a disaster or emergency happens. Finally get these players here, committed to being here with us, and, you know, we got Lisa's support and help and her knowledge from her DES stuff before. And this is just, it's always gonna change. It's probably gonna change a couple times a year of new things coming in and new established protocols, you know, so you're not gonna just see us this time and never see us again.
I wanted to add to that, from what I've learned is like the material I've had is the coordinators, one of the responsibilities is to keep the mutual aid agreements updated. So with the mutual aid agreement, with these programs and different resources, that's going to be really key in the communication and responsibilities. And another thing that that is required is that these programs and agencies are they're required to keep the president informed of their responses, their efforts, whatever outside assistance they used or needed. So that's what I mean by, you know, we're bridging gaps, communication. That's the main goal, is to keep all of those funds updated with the mutual agreement, our mutual aid agreement. It sort of holds them accountable when they're called on to help to do, because in the emergency disaster plan, there are different situations, so it's not going to be, you know, all hands on deck all the time. It's going to depend on the emergency, and that agency will be activated, and they're responsible for reporting back to the president. So it's kind of what I see as my role.
So, two things. So, could that be a priority of the committee to make sure that plans are done and, like for every natural disaster, so that we're not reinventing plans as we become, I mean, let's be proactive and create the plans we have in one office, so that when the disaster comes up, I mean, we're able to respond with the plan.
Exactly, that's exactly the plan
Okay.
of the program.
And then, another thing is, so tribal programs, they're more lenient, and then like the federal programs, there has to be that state of emergency called by the president before, any of the, federal programs can, be responsive. You know what I mean? So we have to make that clear in the plans too, that any of the federal programs that have, resources to help, they have to be activated by that, state of emergency.
And one of my main things that I've done since I've had this position is I've always answered and communicated directly with the president. You know, I feel that the president of all people on this reservation needs to know exactly bird's eye view of what's going on right then and there. You know, car wrecks, potential fires that are gonna threaten a residence. So the president himself can get that information out and it's accurate. It's not something that was heard off of Facebook. It's accurate information, and that's, you know, keeping our citizens calm and safe.
Maybe on that back section, now therefore be resolved there, down, then it goes on to say, also to include, maybe put other trouble departments, other trouble president. That we we could add in there like that. I mean, if you're saying some of these programs, you know.
So, when I was talking to Lou about creating this, she said a lot of the programs are they're invited in to join.
Yeah.
But she said to make sure that these ones were on there.
I think you need that language in there, you know, that way, other departments about the health, you don't want to start being, they're still addressed yet, I mean, you know what I mean?
And a lot of this language comes from the EOP. And she did say that she did give out the EOP thumb drives to the council sometime in the last term. 4 years, 2 years, I don't know.
And I think if we work close with the president's office in getting this committee established, it'll have a bit greater impact. You know, we all know that snowplows are justified to buy, but then they're never brought to the table to use. You know, so with the help of the president's office, we can get directives and memos of, you will be a part of this, and hopefully get a good, strong group put together.
And we can always make amendments to the list of programs, you know, like if you get it passed to create the committee, and then, you know, you can meet with the president, and if there's more programs to add or, you know, to take off, then we can always make amendments to it, but it's number one priority. With the, summer coming up and the, you know, like the floods and stuff like that, I think it's important that we can get this committee rolling so that work can get started. Is that your motion?
I just want to ask, what did you say the name that you suggested or recommended?
The what? Oh,
The name?
so the name, what?
You
Oh,
recommended.
okay, Northern Cheyenne Crisis Response Committee.
Crisis response. Committee or commission?
Or it could be commission, yeah. Northern Cheyenne Crisis Response Commission.
Are you guys okay with that?
Okay.
And then are we striking the 6 whereas? I was just recommending the parts of
I think you're missing the whereas, I think you're missing the second.
I am somewhere.
For Article 4, Section 1.
I was talking about the third whereas, the fact that since it already exists, it doesn't matter because you guys can do that. Whatever, bring the new one forward.
So this one here on the second whereas, you're missing that, Northern Cheyenne Tribal Council under Article 4, Section 1, Constitutional bylaws, you're missing that paragraph.
We are going to be there. Yeah.
So you have to add that.
Okay. And then this could be, just so we're not restricted, or, you know, we can't, but you don't have a program saying they're not listed on the resolution. Yeah, so just to be more vague, at the discretion of the president, however. That's just my recommendation. So, this is a mess, obviously.
Well, I mean, I think it, like, just with those few changes, I don't think it's,
I think you're right.
I think it's good.
Just add that
You're just
second
adding
whereas.
the citation from the Constitution in that second whereas. And then, if you're just adding in that last line for be it resolved that, other programs, you know,
We get signed.
programs will be assigned at the discretion of the president.
And other programs?
Yep.
Also to include right there. And I would put this in the trailer department says, I would add that.
And Teresa, I can help you. We can clean it up and then we can get it sent to the secretary with the changes.
And I would read from I really would because it's all Are you leaving it at the church? You guys are at the church or what are you changing?
No, we're changing
Changing it?
to the Northern Cheyenne Crisis Response Commission.
Okay. Just put that in, where you got church. Okay.
Is that your motion, Teresa?
Yes.
I'll second the motion. With corrections.
With corrections and, yeah.
Motion by Teresa Small to establish the 2025 Northern Cheyenne Crisis Response Commission. Is that what it is? With corrections made to the resolution. Second by Melissa Fisher. Melissa Lombard.
Yes.
Howard Montiveros.
Yes.
Stephen Rainey.
Yes.
Eva Foote. Nijoli Freeze. She's still on.
Nijoli?
Ernest Whitlam. Donovan Lumberhand.
Yes.
Teresa Small.
Yes.
Gwen Spotted Horse. Yes. Melissa Fisher.
Yes.
9 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, 1 o'clock, there's a meeting with NABC, Zoom meeting, and the link was sent to the, it's cost sharing, our revenue sharing proposals.
Did you have something else?
Yeah, just, it's more of just a reason why, you know, that I think that this is important is that Cheyenne, one of our core values is helping each other, is helping, coming together. It's one of the greatest qualities as Cheyennes that we have is coming together, helping each other. It's something that we grow up learning and, you know, we're taught that as we're growing up. And I just wanted to say that, you know, we work together and we do a lot of great things working together, just like we have at the community center. That's something that I really focus on with this new responsibility, is that being Cheyenne on the core values is helping each other and coming together. So thank you, everybody, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Randy. Also, Brian would like to, meet with us too on Zoom. He has the same time as the 1 o'clock, so if I could just schedule it in right now, then maybe we can talk. All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Melissa Fisher to adjourn, second by Melissa Lombard. Melissa Lombard? Yes. Howard Montiveros? Yes. Stephen Rainey.
Yes.
Eva Foote? Nijoli Freeze? Ernest Whitlam? Corey Davy? Donovan Lumberhand?
Yes.
Teresa Small? Gwen Spotted Horse? Melissa Fisher?
Yes.
Did Nijoli say yes?
Yeah.
10 yes, motion carried.
Jordan, so,